Alrighty, hello and welcome to episode 18 of Outside the Numbers. It is time for our week 3 recap. I'm Shelby Allen.
I'm Ethan Manjuri.
And Ethan, you were just telling me some problems on your end. Technically, you weren't able to take in as many games as you wish.
Yeah, our YouTube TV was freaking out, so we couldn't get any games live. So, of course, I wasn't going to miss the Saints game, so I did a little stream off
Whoa.
a
Don't
special...
admit to anything here.
No,
okay, just like a different
didn't.
streaming service. A different fully paid streaming. Okay, cool.
Yes, I used someone else's login for another fully paid...
Gotcha.
NFL Sunday ticket for the full thing.
Yeah, stand-up guy. That's what you like to see.
So I was able to watch the Saints game, thankfully.
Okay. And that's
also not thankfully because of what it was, but
first 3 quarters though. Come on. I mean, yeah.
Take what you can get. Really, the first half.
Yeah.
Was solid.
It went downhill that quick.
It was pretty divisive.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I will start us off. I don't know if you caught Thursday Night Football, but just like last week, I forget what last week's, it was Minnesota Philly, I believe, and it was kind of a similar thing. That game was a little better. This is 49ers Giants, and I compare them just because you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I think we learned that both teams are exactly what we thought going into this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the Giants are real bad. And it's I enjoy watching the bad Giants. I don't know why that's the case, but I always have.
2010 or
maybe.
So one of those years there was some Eli Manning legacy game against the Saints.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, I was thinking about that earlier today because it was a crazy high-scoring game like the Miami this week. But maybe that's why. It wasn't always about Eli, though. It's just the Giants. I don't know. It's fun to watch them be bad. But
I'm certainly right there with you. So I'm not. Yeah.
But especially without Saquon, it is clear that he is their entire offense.
Yeah, and now Daniel Jones has to run a little more, which I guess he's good at. But when you're up against the 49ers,
good at.
What?
I'm never gonna let him live that down, dude. He's the worst at running.
What, Daniel Jones?
Yes.
He's electric.
He had no obstacles.
Ethan, you've just got to look at his rushing numbers from last year. He's crazy. He's actually decent.
He's decent, and he's actually faster than he looks.
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll dive in on what you mean by that exactly. But
looks like he would be.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah, final takeaway. Well, for one, Daniel Jones, 137 passing yards and an interception. So that's a stat line. Secondly, Brock Purdy, I just don't think he's going to regress. I was really hoping preseason that he would. I think they just actually got away with one. And he is currently, Ethan, surely he's being paid to be like 9-0 as a starter and able to make a deep playoff run, right?
No.
He's got to be top 30, right?
No, this is like, when you put this down, it was unbelievable the stat went this deep. Because you have
highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Russell Wilson.
There are 32 teams.
Yes, that's correct.
To put that in perspective.
That is unbelievable, dude. No, it's just crazy that he is where he is, and he's playing so much better than probably 72 of those guys, roughly. I mean, there's some backups out there that aren't having a chance to start, but it feels like that. And the 49ers, I mean, maybe he wouldn't be thriving as much, 31 other teams that didn't have that crazy defense, but he's looking good. He looks like the long-term answer. Bring us in to the Sunday kickoff Lions-Falcons.
So this is what I was telling you before we got going, that this week ended up kind of, as from the Saints' perspective, being the best worst week we could have had, and it starts with the Falcons losing to the Lions. Always good to see, especially with Lions fans this year. The Lions are back. This is the new Lions, and we had kind of doubted them in week 2, and now they're coming back and beating a team that was looking pretty decent. The Falcons were looking decently solid, making their 2-0 start, which is unlike them, and with their special new running back and all.
Is week 3 too early to consider like fraud territory? Like if we tossed out the word fraud, is that just absurd?
No, I think I've always thought week 3 is kind of where you start to see true colors, because week 1 is always funky, and where you think teams are at based on week 1 is never how they end up at the end of the season. And then week 2 is just kind of like a weird
kind of a
in between spot,
correction, a
you know?
little bit
Yeah.
of things, but not total clarity.
And there's, yeah. So week 3 is, I feel like, when the chemistry starts clicking generally around the league.
Well, not for the Falcons.
And no,
No,
no, which
they
is
amassed.
splendid.
This is actually funny to me. So the Lions were penalized for 119 yards,
Which is astounding.
and the Falcons were
bad.
penalized for 24. So you basically have to look at all of the numbers with a grain of salt because 6 points barely flagged, and the Lions put up. I mean, 119. I mean, sure, some of those yards are because of the penalties that were being committed, but at the same time, I mean, they were held back, and still, 2 touchdowns of clearance on.
It seems like it might be a skill issue, huh?
It just might be a skill issue. I knew it was good to tee you up with Falcons Lions there.
Yeah.
Our next game, genuinely very exciting. I feel like both teams are similar in terms of quarterback, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins is definitely not on the level of Herbert, but both guys kind of have historically found ways to lose games, like in the final minutes. Like lead a dominant offense, 300 passing yards, a couple of touchdowns, but somehow at the end they find a way to collapse. In this one, Brandon Staley goes for a 4th and 1 at, I believe, his own 30 late in the game, and somehow survives. I mean, they were up 4, and so you need to, you can't allow the other team a touchdown. They're not going to take a field goal.
Yeah.
But he says, you know what, we're at the 30, the 40. If they get this, we can stop them. And somehow they did. I just, when it happened, I was like, oh, this is the most Chargers thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed like that's where it was going. After I watched I looked up because you mentioned that one. I was curious, but very lucky on that.
Yeah, and this has been brought up a lot. It's a big talking point, especially in the offseason, about the Vikings being, speaking of fraudulent, just 11-0 in 1-score games, and just statistical probability that can't really happen. So you have to look at last year kind of like a fluke. And then this year, they're now starting 0-3 in 1-score games. So they're
it's evening
just as competitive as last year, but not just on the other end.
Yeah, yeah, which also fun for me. Don't like.
Oh wait, why is this one fun for? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
it's okay.
That didn't click immediately. Okay,
That's all right.
Oh, nothing happened in Minneapolis. The Chargers rushed for 30 yards in this game, so that's a total. I thought that was just their leading rusher had 30. That's the entire team.
That's pretty bad.
Also, Mike Williams threw a touchdown. No, sorry, reverse that. Keenan Allen threw a touchdown to Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike Williams tore his ACL. Different play, unrelated, but that's the Chargers. If you try to give them something, some joy.
Mike Williams had an incredible game. He was really back to himself. So that's another thing what I'm saying about week 3. Week 1 and 2, he wasn't the Mike Williams that we had come to know midseason form. And week 3, he showed out, and I'm upset about it. I like him a lot. Tough. He's on my fantasy team.
There it is. Yep.
But yeah,
it's more that you like him as a person. He also happens to be on your fantasy team. So
that's just a crazy coincidence.
Side note for sure. I will leave you with this. I'm going to cover the Cowboys game, so you cover the Saints game. Give us your honest reaction. I wrote some talking points. You can disregard if you want.
So
where are you at?
I don't understand. I think so. I've gotten to think about it for a few days now, and my initial reaction was I don't understand why the team seemed to lose all resolve as soon as Derek went down. Right, when you have your ex-starter coming in. And you're up 17, you've been holding them to 0 the whole game. There's just no reason for you to lose your momentum, even if your quarterback goes down, right? So then Jameis comes out, and it's not, nothing beneficial offensively happens. And defensively, we look gassed, and they start moving the ball on us. Next thing you know, we lose 18-17. It's like we traded halves, and they got one more point. Very frustrating. But thinking about it, I'm like, why? So I look at the QBR and everything for Jameis, and it was better than Derek's has been.
Really? And I did not see that.
So then you're like, okay, so if that's all true, why weren't we scoring points? Why weren't we increasing our lead? And so that's got to be coaching. So then it's really the resolve of the coaches, namely Dennis Allen, I'm assuming, collapsed as soon as Derek went out. And you can hear it in his voice in the post game interviews and everything. He seems like he just lost his puppy he got yesterday, you know? And it's just frustrating to. I'm excited to see if Jameis starts this week, to see him with the trying to win playbook, and aggressive play calls, and see how he does in that situation instead of just trying not to give up the game. But yeah, just very frustrating because it seemed like stuff was starting to come together. Defense was looking phenomenal. Kamara's coming back. Full. Now we can really start to get the full game plan going, and it was a bad look on the team to deflate as fast as they did just because a player went down. You don't know. At that point they didn't know anything. You don't know his season's over. You don't know that it's not as serious as you think.
And
just
you
play the game.
You mentioned Dennis Allen. And his attitude, right? I mean, his attitude falls off. He's crushed by this. I picture Derek. I mean, Derek Carr is probably the type of guy that's on the sideline going like, screaming at the guy, like telling him to get ready. We're still in. Like, I feel like Derek Carr has a better emotional, rational presence on the sideline, even injured, than what Dennis Allen provides.
No, I think so too. I mean, there's that clip going around when he was talking to Rashid Shaheed, who had that punt return touchdown. That was awesome. But they kept trying to hit him on that deep route, and it kept missing. And he's being persistent with it, and he's saying, let's run it again. Give me another shot. Going up to Shaheed saying, run.
And Jameis going, yeah, throw that go ball.
Well, yeah, but so why aren't the coaches having the same attitude?
Yeah, why isn't Jameis coming in and going straight for that go ball to...
Or that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or, it was frustrating. I don't understand the mentality.
It's a loss that doesn't happen with Will Lutz or McManus.
That's true, yeah, because it really does come down to the kick. And I will say the kid handled it really professionally in the locker room when they were trying to get him to act sad and disappointed in himself. And they kept bugging him with the same questions over and over again. But he kept saying it was 100% on me. Operation was clean. Just got to be better next week. And it's frustrating because you're like, yeah, he's exactly correct right there. But also you have a singular job. And it was not even a hard one.
It was not a long field goal.
It was not a long field goal. I'm confident that I could do that.
Okay, well, that's...
I've kicked field goals before. I'm confident that I can do it.
With 0 defenders. With
yes.
With 60,000 people staring at you.
Oh, man. But if it was my job, give me a week to practice, I could do it in front of... Come on.
All right, that has been Saints Talk with Ethan Mundry, resigned NFL kicker. So now we move on to Texans Jaguars. And I've got a few things written here. I'm trying to avoid going like full overreaction mode to a lot of stuff this week. But is it crazy to say that like the Texans might not have to wait till the end of the season or wait for another draft to have an identity? Have they really found it? Stroud is actually playing pretty well.
Yeah, I don't want to say that yet because I'm leaning towards my gut feeling is that this was a fluke game.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just got into a good rhythm, and it's going to be an irregular sighting from them. But 8 different receivers is impressive.
Especially when you look at like Bryce Young, and we don't know enough about Anthony Richardson, but you look at some of these other rookie quarterbacks that are not finding 8 different receivers. They're not really looking comfortable in the pocket and like scrambling. Like he's well-rounded, and he looks like a true starter. The same certainly cannot be said for Bryce Young yet. Maybe a small sample size, but I don't know. The Texans are fun. The Jaguars, I don't think week 3 can really be a trap game. I think it's kind of ridiculous to say that, but it's the only explanation I could find. They're a better team. They're more talented, and they got absolutely whooped on at home. Yep. So weird week for the Jaguars and the Texans, AFC South in general, as we'll talk about later.
And that's why I'm saying it's more of a fluke game than Texans coming into their identity in week 3 and building their chemistry, because it was also the Jaguars playing worse than they usually do, which is going to also boost the momentum of the opposer,
And division games are always a little funky, so
yeah.
But A little.
This one's fun.
Ethan, this was crazy.
This one is very fun.
You've talked about Dennis Allen in this very episode.
Yeah.
It's time to turn our attention to Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. What happened?
They lost.
Oh, did they?
They lost very, very bad.
Oh, sure enough. Yeah. No, they did.
Yeah.
They lost.
They could have scored all of their points 3 total times and still lost by 50% of what they scored.
Okay, that's a lot of math you just threw out there.
But it's really bad.
It made sense. Yeah.
70 points.
70
they allowed
points.
70.
They more than tripled the Broncos. Sean Payton in the press conference after was hilarious, man. He was not taking questions. He was just not taking
that way sometimes. It's funny, but it's
inexcusable. And now, okay, so once again, we talked about this last week. You're not like actively pro Sean Payton, which I find to be confusing because he brought you your only Super Bowl. And Ethan, a Super Bowl is something that not everybody has the luxury of having.
Yes.
I think
I'm very grateful for the Super Bowl.
Sure. But not for, you don't wish for the long-term success of their leader.
No, because I think that the way he left us in a pretty hot dumpster fire.
Well, I mean, you can say it's a lot of that is Drew Brees leaving.
I mean, we were still like, okay. Yeah. We still like had a little bit of our identity left over. But then I'm glad you said that, because looking at how Sean Payton is performing elsewhere, it might not have been him that brought us that Super Bowl.
Whoa.
As much as we thought.
I can't okay, thank you. That caveat was truly needed.
Yeah, he is still very much a great coach. Will be in the Hall of Fame more than likely. But
absolutely. Unless the voters are finicky about Bountygate. But it feels more than likely. But it feels like everything about this year for Sean Payton is like it's like the shadow realm of Sean Payton. It's everything that he had done successfully before is going as wrong as it used to go right. I mean, nobody scored 70 points since 1966. Probably won't again for a good long while. There's no excuse. There's no excuse at all. Also, Ethan, guess what the spread was on this game?
Oh, geez, I didn't even.
Dolphins -6.
6.
So they covered. They covered by 44 points. Yeah. There's so much in this game that happened. There were 10 touchdowns. There were no field goals, at least not for Miami. Everybody got their fair share. There was a running back with 3 touchdowns, one with 4 touchdowns. It's all one game. You could put this together. They also, I believe, I'm trying to remember who it was. They had more yards of offense in this game than I believe the Titans have on the year. They had like 795 yards of offense.
Well, and they scored more points than, what was it, like 14 different teams combined?
That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's, wild.
So I don't know what this week looks like for Sean Payton. One parting note, Mike McDaniels. He's a quirky guy. He is strange to listen to, a little different looking maybe than most NFL coaches. He's talking about it after the game that he didn't. This is so funny. They're in field goal range, right? I mean, for one, they were up by like 50 something and then put in the backups and got to 70. So it wasn't even like, it was just excess. But at some point they find themselves in field goal range and they kneel. They kneel the clock out at the end of the game.
Drives me crazy, dude.
And then they talk to him after.
You're never going to be there again.
I know. And they talked about, and he's like, I didn't want to be, I forget his verbiage, but it was something like, I didn't want to be cheeky. I'm like, dude, it was 70. It's not like you're going to spare their feelings by not making it 73.
The cheeky is done.
Yeah. Yeah, you're having your backups like pass and successfully throw touchdowns. That was probably the cheeky part. You could have just been running the ball. But then when it gets time to set the NFL record, you sit back. I don't know how familiar you are with the concept of scoregami.
Yes. No, we had 2 this week, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
That would have broken the scoregami board. They don't go up to 73. They would have had to add a section. Yeah.
Dude, no.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
They would have had to rework the website. They would have broken the website. So Mike McDaniels, for me, highly questionable.
Man.
He should have just broken the Broncos. Well, he did. He should have killed them.
Yeah, no, they're dead.
Yeah. Dead and
It's something
gone.
about beating a dead horse.
The nice. Yeah, that's good stuff. The Dolphins are, and I believe this to be true, I think they're the best team in the AFC, probably the best team in the NFL. It's
It looks like
just
it.
if Tua can stay healthy. That's
Yeah.
literally the only thing. And I know it's maybe a tired narrative, but it's not like I'm just making this stuff up. He's been injured a lot. So
Yeah. Well, and I think it's. I hope he has a new doctor.
yeah, and
'Cause he.
jiu-jitsu instructor. So
Yeah.
no, he's doing great. No worries there. But yeah, we'll pick up the pace through those were kind of the more entertaining games. We'll roll through now. Browns Titans 27-3.
You know.
Yeah.
There's okay. So you let me know about this. The Browns have not yet allowed an opponent to run a play from inside their own 10.
From the Browns 10-yard line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I also sent you a
pretty
clip
crazy.
that's so funny of Myles Garrett, and he's standing. He's like on the end of the line standing, and they have two tight ends to block him. So they shift Myles Garrett over to the other side of the line, and the two tight ends just immediately get up and follow him. And then they do that like 3-4 times, and the clock runs out, and the Titans have to call a timeout. But it's just shameless when you're doing that much to try to establish any type of run game. And for one, it still didn't work because Derrick Henry had 18 yards on 20 yards on like 11 carries, so 1.8 yards per carry.
1.8, yeah,
And
really
like 100 and
subpar.
something total yards of offense for the Titans. It was disgusting, but that's the amount of time this game deserves. I think the Browns are decent.
Yeah.
They're not
Browns defense is very good,
very very good, historically good. Bills Commanders, very similar vein. I don't know if we really voiced too much concern for the Bills, but that's done. They're good. They're fine.
Yeah, they're all right.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
That's just week 1, week 2 weirdness.
Yeah.
We're good.
And Sam Howell, speaking of like week 1 and 2, he was starting to really get the Commanders fan base. Commanders, I can't believe I'm still saying that. That's absurd. That's the name of a team. He was starting to get their fan base excited. He throws 4 interceptions in a single game. So he's now has 5 on the season, 3 touchdowns on the season. And I'm not saying it's like he can't still be some type of long-term, vaguely franchisey guy. But, man, 4 picks is tough.
I don't know. Being 3 and 5 touchdowns to interceptions by week 3 is not good. That's pretty bad luck.
That's Zach Wilson territory if Zach Wilson could throw touchdowns. So that would be it would be more like 1 and 5. But that's for another day. Yeah, Sam Howell is probably going to be decent, but I will say this, he fits the Commanders' model for a quarterback. Like, too good to cut, too bad to ever lead them anywhere. And then if he does show promise eventually, they will ship him out of town. So that's
he'll
what
go be a
Commanders
backup
fans have
somewhere.
to look forward to. Exactly, yeah. Next, Colts Ravens. And, a lot of rushing yards. Lamar tops 100 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. The Ravens look semi-fine. It comes to overtime, which it probably shouldn't have. But did you see the missed PI call?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
It doesn't really get more clear than that, man.
No, that was blatant.
Dude was tackled.
Strictest definition.
Yeah.
I mean, he straight up tackled the man. But
so, Harbaugh's losing it, of course, and they should have won. But they honestly shouldn't have been there in the first place. What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Freaky game.
It's weird. Lamar Jackson really, especially with the stat line, does just look like a running back in shotgun.
Yeah. I mean, he put up numbers of, he put up like 5 times the yards of Derrick Henry. I think he had like 200 passing yards, 100-something rushing yards. It's just a ridiculous stat line.
Yeah.
But they're asking him to do way too much. He shouldn't have to do all that, especially not in a loss.
Yeah, he's carrying the whole team and trying to make everything work. And he's talented enough to kind of do it.
Yeah, I'm not out on the Ravens yet, and we'll talk about the Cowboys, but it feels like a very similar game where you're kind of like you're starting to ride a little high, and then just a wildly inferior opponent that you have historic struggles with gives you a little trouble. Preview for later. Pats Jets. These teams both are so bad.
They're both a really funny game.
Yeah.
15-10 is such a strange score. It's such a, that was a terrible game to watch.
Yeah, I didn't check. I don't think it was scoregami, but it should have been. I don't know how that score
had
happened before. And I don't think there was even a safety as far as I can remember. I don't even know how they
I don't
arrived
think
at that.
so.
I guess maybe a 2 point conversion or something, and then another touchdown. But neither of these teams are good. Patriots are
No.
bad. Jets are bad. Zach Wilson, and look, it's there's this whole offseason where you've got Hard Knocks and Robert Saleh saying like, oh yeah, we got Aaron Rodgers mentoring this guy. You know, if anything happens to Rodgers, we're fully confident. They remain that confident. They come out after the game and say like, oh yeah, Zach Wilson gives us the best chance to win. At what point, Ethan? And it's been like 2 years now. The man does not win.
It's like
He does not win
maybe,
games.
maybe not.
I don't even know who's behind Zach Wilson, but he should have had a couple snaps, at least at some point in the last 2 weeks. I don't. I put this, and I don't think it's an exaggeration. I don't think Zach Wilson, whether or not he would actually get signed, I don't know, but I don't think he deserves like a backup job in the NFL.
No, it's bad.
It's really,
Like really,
really bad.
yeah, fundamentally bad.
Yeah. Nothing to be like excited about for honestly either team. The
No.
Patriots extend their win streak over the Jets to like I think 15 games. That's
Yeah.
who's really counting at this point. Pats 15, Jets 10.
The Jets offense started imploding a little bit on the sideline. Did you see that?
Garrett Wilson like
Screaming at
yelling
each other.
Yeah.
And
Can't blame any of them. Holy
Yeah.
cow! Just yeah. And it's,
Rogers
at
was
some point,
criticizing him on some podcast or something.
it's not even Zach Wilson's fault. They keep putting him in.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he wants to be there. Like, it doesn't look like it. Direct all screaming at Robert Saleh, especially
Yeah.
after the press conference. That's just
Yes.
raw absurdity. Seahawks, Panthers. Andy Dalton is better than Bryce Young at the moment.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton he's pretty consistent as far as like how good he is. It's not very good,
Yeah.
but he's
Nobody's saying
pretty
it is.
consistently. You know what you're gonna get when you put him out there. You know, so he's at least he's got that going for him.
Yeah. And the Panthers looked better in a loss than Bryce Young has looked in. I don't even know if the Panthers have won, but in really any of his games. So I don't know. Weird game. Seahawks defense generates 36 pressures. So I don't know what Bryce Young would have looked like, truly.
Yeah, their O line needs help in a big way.
But the Seahawks are maybe closer to last year than the first couple weeks would indicate. I think they're fine. I don't know Geno Smith's stat line, but no big concern for Seattle. The Panthers are just kind of floating in nothingness. So
Yeah,
but yeah, that's that game. Another absolute, and it's just a. It's just tough
it's
to
just
talk
hard
about.
to watch. You know, the
I'm looking at the score. I can't. It's 41-10, right? So the ratio is worse than Broncos Dolphins. Nothing can be worse than having 70 put on you, but it's just humiliation, and it's expected, and it's repetitive, and it doesn't stop. And I can't imagine being a Bears fan and watching this year after year. But like a good quarterback in college will not be a good quarterback on the Bears. Like it just doesn't work. It doesn't happen. There's something about the organization. They've never thrown for more than 4,000 yards in a season.
Is that true?
It's a curse. Yeah, they're the only team in the NFL.
Oh my goodness.
They're the only team in the NFL
That's
to never
crazy.
have a 4,000-yard passer. Now, granted, I don't know if they've had somebody subbed out mid-season. They've never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a season. They've also never had a quarterback throw for more than, I believe, 30 touchdowns. And they're in both categories. They're the only team to have those stats. So,
Wow.
yeah, they are abysmal at quarterback. And at some point, you can't even blame Justin Fields. But, well, no, I take that back. 99 passing yards.
Yeah.
So they're the worst team in the NFL. I think they actually could go 0-17, which would be a new record with the 18-week season. So Bears 10, Chiefs 41.
They should just go for it at this point.
Go for
Just-
0-17. Yeah.
Yeah, just tank it. Get the cool new 0-17, the first to ever do that.
They gave away DJ Moore, and they got a first-round pick from the Panthers. So if they manage to tank, then and the Panthers also are on track to be very bad. They could end up with like the first overall pick and like the third or something. I mean, that's a genuine possibility.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll use it to pick Caleb Williams, who will never be heard from again. The next game is Cowboys Cardinals. And you know what? I have to walk a few things back. Ethan, we were here a week ago, just a week ago, and I may or may not have gone on a 2 to 3 minute monologue. What I said in that monologue, I cannot exactly remember. It was something along the lines of maybe the Cowboys being the best team in the NFL. It was me saying that they were the best team in the NFL. Something, and I'm not entirely sure what it was, went wrong. So the Cardinals, who another team that just can't seem to get a quarterback, they signed
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs in late August, and it may have literally been early September. He spent some time in Tennessee and the Steelers. He has not started more than a handful of games. And the game opens up and he breaks off like a 30-yard run down the sideline. They drive down, score a touchdown, and I think either missed the 2 point. They missed the 2 point conversion. There's a penalty on Dallas, obviously. They take it, they go to the 1 yard line. Dallas stops them. I'm like, okay, we've allowed 16 points on the season now, right? That's fine. That's all right. It quickly becomes 9-0. Then it's 15-3. And in the second half, Dallas gets the ball to start. They can't do anything. I think they kick a field goal. Nothing was working. And I think it starts with the Cowboys defense. Micah Parsons still has a sack, but it was kind of funny. Like you've seen these other Cowboys games where the defensive line breaks into the backfield and it looks like surreal. Like they're all just there and the quarterback is fixed in the pocket and he tries to escape and he's surrounded. With Josh Dobbs, it was like nobody exactly knew where he was going, and I think the fact that he has so little experience, he was just kind of like floating around, and nobody knew what to do with him or where to find him, and it was just working. Trayvon Diggs is out for the season. We didn't address that yet. He had been allowing Ethan. What passer rating do you think Trayvon Diggs was allowing through 2 games?
Oh, very low. 20.
1.
1.
A passer rating of 1. 30 yards. Like 2 completions out of like 20. So he's gone.
Cool.
And his backup got called for PI, allowed, I believe, like 100 plus yards, and was just like a straight up terror to the Cowboys. So everything went wrong, and I can't write it off as a trap game or a fluke. It was embarrassing to the highest order. And this monologue was actually longer than last week's. I will say nothing more about Dallas being a top tier team until proven otherwise / past, like, I'm gonna say week 8. I'm gonna hold out till week 8, and if I try to claim it before then that they're the best team in the NFL or that they're top 5, just
hey, I would have given you 5.
I'm not taking 5 after that. And look, I get that it's overly critical. You know me, I am.
Yeah.
So through 2 weeks we literally could not have looked like a better team. It was one of the best first 2 weeks ever. So
it was very good.
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to get more than slightly excited about Dallas.
But that's I don't think. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. You're nowhere near your display on Sunday was not who the Cowboys are.
And I believe that. I do.
And maybe it's possible that the display in weeks 1 and 2 wasn't quite who you are either. But we don't know that. It could be.
It feels better when I say it than when you say it.
It does.
Yeah,
I feel. My bad.
no, you're good. Yeah, no, you can absolutely come after it. It's reality after all. So it's only fair. But anyways, no more talking about that. Steelers Raiders 25-18. Steelers win. And
Jimmy G is really, really fun to watch from an entertainment standpoint. If you need to watch his feet. Every time he drops back, he takes at least 60 steps. He's not going anywhere, but his feet are chopping. He is ready to go whichever direction he has to. Then he decides to hold the ball for forever and then throw it completely inaccurately.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's
very fun to watch.
You got that 100% right.
No, there were several. I mean, he looks like a middle school quarterback almost. Like several throws that were just, you wonder why would you make that decision? First off, second, it wasn't relatively close. So what's going on?
He did find, to his credit, he finally figured out how to get the ball to Devontae Adams, and it almost gave them
almost killed him.
It almost killed Devontae. That is true. He looked like he was going to be carted off, and he was relatively fine. But boy, this game was incredibly weird. It was a blowout until the late in the fourth quarter. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to, from memory, just walk through Josh McDaniels' like coaching masterclass.
Okay.
The score, Ethan. All right, no, I'll pose it as a question. I think that's the best way to do it. The score is 23-15.
Okay.
You have the ball, right? One possession game.
Mhm.
You have the ball. Your opponent's 30. It is 4th and 1, and you have about 3 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. What should you do?
Probably go for it.
The answer is to kick a field goal, Ethan. You kick the field goal, because here's the thing: if you're down by 8 and
Uh-huh.
there's 3 minutes left, you need to score a touchdown in order to have any chance of winning the game, right?
And get the extra point.
And get the extra point.
Or the 2 point.
Here's what you're not thinking about. If you kick the field goal, you still need a touchdown to win the game.
Yes. But you
So
don't need the 2 point conversion.
That is true, and you don't think about that. That's 2 yards that you don't know if your offense can get those 2 yards, and if you
Right.
don't, then you lose the game, and that would be stupid. So in this case, the Raiders make the correct call to kick the
Okay.
field goal,
Yeah.
make it a 5-point game.
Strategically, I understand now.
So instead of needing a touchdown to win the game, they need a touchdown to win the game, and they don't have the ball now. So that's the
Okay,
logic.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it. So they go to kick the field goal. A Steeler jumps on somebody's back, presses down. They don't call this half the time, but they do. They give it a 15-yard penalty. All right. So now this is truly absurd. You get to the 6-yard line. A little time's off the clock. You got about 2.5 minutes. You find yourself in a 4th and 4. Right. So you're still down 8.
Okay.
It's 4th and 4. You're at the 6. Right. So you can still get a first down, not get in the end zone. You're trying to run a little clock. You're also trying to convert and get in the end zone. What do you think you do? Keep in mind, you need a touchdown at some point in order to win the game.
Right, but I can get another 4 downs in 4 yards.
Yes. Or a touchdown in 6.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'd run a play. I'd think of something.
Like
and try to get...
like you would run out your kicker and line up to kick a field goal to make it a 5-point game?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what they did. And they kicked it, and then the Steelers got a first down, and then the game was over. So... so that was how that went. And Josh McDaniels is like, I don't love being like overly dramatic. Ethan, that is the dumbest coaching decision. Sean Payton coached today. A team gave up 70 points. I still feel better about Sean Payton than Josh McDaniels. That was the single dumbest coaching decision. And the funniest thing is that he made the wrong decision. And then the refs helped him. They said, "Oh, that was stupid. Here's a first down and 15 yards." And then he did it again. He'd made the same bad decision twice. And it cost the game. It cost them a shot at overtime or winning or anything. And the Steelers win. It was so bad and so devastatingly stupid. I don't know how you get up Monday morning as a Raiders fan or a Raiders head coach.
Yeah, I was about to say him. Like, because there's no... I mean, he's getting hounded. Everybody knew what to do in that situation. What do you honestly think he was thinking?
I think the kicker at some point should have been like, I'm just not going to go out and kick this. I want to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a very bold move, but
just an executive decision at some point.
I mean, but like genuinely because the only possibility for you to win the game at that point is you've now kicked the field goal. You're down 5. You kick off to them. You have to hope they muff that, or you have to force them to. Yeah, you have to force them to a 3 and out. But keep in mind how much time is left. Like, you can, if you play it right, you can, in one set of downs, you can run out 2 minutes.
Yeah,
you know.
And the craziest thing is, you at some point, you're basically you've driven like 60 yards of the field. Yeah. And when you kick that field goal, you're saying we're going to have to drive 60 yards. It's the same thing. You just gave up 70 free yards of field position. But
also, you just proved that you can move the ball for the whole field. Why are you suddenly thinking that you suddenly cannot get any more progress? I don't know. Keep the momentum going.
I can't explain it. It defies everything.
Yeah.
But we are running out of time quickly. We will jump in on the Monday Night Football doubleheader. One game more interesting than the other. We'll start with the tough one. Eagles 25, Buccaneers 11. Were you able to watch this game? No.
Well, never watched, but was happy to see. I mean, all 4 NFC South teams lost this week, so that's okay.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's like the week didn't happen.
But I did hear that Baker was not impressive.
He was not, but like then randomly they're down. I think it was 11-25 or 11-22, and he just put together like two straight 30-yard passes to Mike Evans, drove him down the field straight into the end zone out of absolutely nowhere. Oh, so I guess it was 25-3 or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
it was just totally out of nowhere. And it's so funny to me because Baker just does this. He's made a habit of the like absurdly quick and efficient 2-minute drill out of nowhere, and he does it. And this time, it just happens to be against the defending conference champions in Tampa, and it just doesn't work out. But it was weird to see them running that efficiently after being in a stranglehold all day. AJ Brown, and this is only relevant to me because I have him in fantasy. He dropped two passes in the end zone. Both times they hit both of his hands with his feet on the ground, and then dropped several more outside of the end zone. And he still had like 100 something yards. So I don't know.
He gets targeted a lot. He's very good for PPR leagues. But I had him, was it 2 years ago when he first started really popping off?
I mean, back on the Titans,
Yeah. And he's not that guy anymore.
No. And watching him last week, he was complaining to Hurts about, Devonta Smith getting more targets, and then he comes out and drops like 14 points and a couple hundred, not a couple hundred, but like 50 yards at least of reception. So it's just absurd. But this is what we expected the game to be, just like the beginning of the pod. We close out with Bengals-Rams. I think the Bengals actually found their rhythm. The score would not indicate it as much, but they did.
More so.
It took till the second half, but they started to look, minus Aaron Donald just lighting them up. I think they did start to look like themselves.
Which is almost just a given, because he's just a monster.
I don't know how I haven't seen enough Rams primetime or Ram games in general, but you can't, it's just a different experience watching the game because it's every single play he's back there.
Yeah.
And of course, Burrow's got a hurt calf, but it's a close game. I'm pretty happy with Burrow. I was questioning the decision to even play him, but you get out with this win. He didn't re-aggravate it, and they actually kind of found a little bit of their 2021-2022 chemistry. So Bengals 19, Rams 16, and that is the conclusion. That was week 3, an absolutely electric week. Boom. I truly hope that your YouTube TV is figured out in time.
Yes, we got it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank goodness. All right. Well, this is Shelby Allen signing off.
Ethan Jerry.
And we'll see you next week.
See y'all.